Hello, hello, hello. Oh, I had to come back on really fast this morning. I stayed up all night watching myself. My last live stream, number one. I didn't know this was going to be a two-parter. I thought I had covered everything. But as the FBI knows very well, I always wake up with more information the next morning. And there were certain, I rewatched most of it too, about like 90% of it. And maybe that helped me think about everything overnight while I was sleeping. I went to sleep really late. It was like 4:30. I couldn't believe how late it was. So I haven't slept very much. I have to take care of Elizabeth at 11 a.m. My time, or approximately, a little in that range. I've it's hard to get her to understand it's a window of time, and we have a schedule where I have the morning hours to myself because I have no time to myself. I try to take time in the morning because I have to, because I work 24/7, and if I didn't take time out for myself, it just I wouldn't be able to take care of her. Sometimes I'm not just laying around and taking it easy. I'm getting done things I can't ordinarily get done. Like last week I started doing yard work for the first time because my husband has reached burnout and can't do it anymore, and I purchased equipment that I can handle, because I can't handle the jerking, turning it on the gas mower. I can't do that. Can't deal with, having to get a lawnmower down the street because none of ours work here on the property, getting gas, all that. Got an electric mower. They're not that expensive if you get the plug-in kind, not the kind with the battery. Batteries wear out anyway. You have to replace them, according to Dean. And yeah, it works fine, with the plug-in kind. Anyway, I'm really proud of myself, and I did our yard, and I'm really proud of my work, and I want to keep it going every week. But anyway, I know I'm off topic. I need to get this done, and it shouldn't take long. If I get right to it. Okay, so I jotted down a few notes this morning so I wouldn't forget, because my mind just goes through everything, and it's like so much information. I don't realize how much information my mind processes until I write it down. And I'm always like reviewing things again, and I'm always like in thought and process. I always am. It's like, and I don't realize how much information it is until I sit down and try and do a live stream or something, and boy, the notes just kind of continue on and on. Okay, so okay, one of the main things. Okay, well, here we are. I have this page up, don't I? The Zodiac Killer. Let me see. Is it getting cut off? No, not really. Okay, so this Wikipedia article makes it really clear. I don't know if I didn't emphasize this yesterday. Oh, look at this. For the Japanese Zodiac copycat. What the hell is that? Kobe child murders. I didn't even see that. There's a New York City Zodiac copycat, and that's Heriberto Seda. And then there's the Japanese Zodiac copycat. Kobe child murders. That's interesting. My father went to Japan, on business all the time. He spoke fluent Japanese, even though my mother had no idea. Maybe his second wife, my stepmother, does. I have no idea. He used to have a business card that was translated in Japanese on the reverse side. I don't know. I don't remember him. It was like he killed me, but I don't remember him ever focusing on children exactly. Yeah, he violated children horribly, so I guess it wouldn't be surprising. That's a whole other video, I think. I just noticed that on the screen. How interesting. I guess maybe FBI was wondering if I would notice that. Okay. So it says, yeah, it says the Zodiac Killer is a pseudonym of an unidentified serial killer. And today is August 17th, 2023, and they have not, Wikipedia has not updated this to reflect anybody that the FBI has publicly identified as the Zodiac Killer. There's all this talk about this guy, and I'm sure he's listed down here as a suspect. I know he is. Let me just go. Okay. Yeah, Gary, everybody this back in May, I guess there was this whole media campaign to make the world know, or to convince the public, that it is this guy, Gary Francis Poste. I don't know how to pronounce it. And, I really think that they must have made it up, that they had some kind of contact inside the FBI, some kind of whistleblower who informed them that this was the guy that they had been the best suspect that they've ever had, or that his DNA matched up with the DNA they have on file. I don't think Gary Francis Poste is my Uncle Norm. That is the DNA the FBI has on file. It was a hair, and I'm sure Daddy, and when I refer to Daddy, I'm not speaking about the Zodiac Killer, who was my father. I'm speaking about Daddy, Clint Eastwood. Yeah, I know. I have many genetic fathers. Go watch part 1. You'll get all the lowdown. I'm pretty sure that Daddy told my father, I refer to him as my father, Dennis Elliott, to put Uncle Norm's hair underneath that stamp. Because my father, Denny, as I called him as a young child, the Zodiac Killer, was very upset that Norman hadn't turned him in. My father, the Zodiac Killer, wanted to be turned in. I couldn't do it. I was a little girl. I tried my darndest. I did. I tried with that TV show. I tried so hard. I tried to get my mother. I tried to get Uncle Norm. No adult would do the dirty deed. I didn't understand why. I mean, and Daddy would always say, oh, that I had more courage than all of them, da 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 da. Okay. And everybody's asking right now, why didn't Daddy turn him in? Because he couldn't. Okay, he's CIA operative, and the CIA prevented him from going to the police and disclosing top secret classified information. So he was not at liberty to turn somebody in, or he would have gone to federal prison, right? I mean, that's the way it works with classified information. This is how the CIA has all their people by the balls. So to speak. They're not free. They're not at liberty to speak. They're not free to speak like I am. I can do what I want, but I'm like in CIA prison right now because I don't have a life. They keep me in this. It's not an actual prison cell, but I've been in prison like my entire life. I've never been. I don't know life outside this. What would you call it? This you wouldn't call it a virtual prison. You'd call it this mind prison. I don't know. They keep me locked away from society. Nobody knows who I am. And whenever I open my mouth and somebody decides to listen, they crazy, delusional. I mean, all the names they called me in 2009, TMZ, thank you very much. I'm glad to have put you on the map. I was like one of their first big stories that they ever broke. They were like a brand new news organization back then. Obviously more like a tabloid, ridiculous website. I've decided to drink out of my Let It Be cup today. Okay. Yeah. Wait, which charm is it? Yeah. Let It Be. This is in tribute to Gabby Petito, who is my genetic daughter. And, you know, all of her parents got this tattoo in honor of her. That was on her arm. She designed it. That's her handwriting and that her little wave there. And so I got that back in October of, I guess it was 2021. Is that right? Yeah. Anyway, Let It Be. I wrote, those were my words when I was a toddler. Let it be, you know, and that's how I dealt. I think Daddy and I, you know, we always created songs out of our conversations together. And that was my phrase, let it be. That's, Daddy would ask me, like, so how do you deal with, you know, all that you're, you know, when things are, you witness trauma or you experience, you know, whatever he said, you know, like when you're having a hard time and you know, your parents are doing this and how do you deal with that? And I think, you know, basically that's like the conversation we had, and I'd say, I let it be. And that we wrote a song about it, and that's how Let It Be came to be. And yes, I'm let it be. I'm busy as a bee, aren't I? Always, always, always. Okay. And by the way, my husband Dean bought this for me at Walmart. The other one kind of broke off, all the you know, the little bees, and the whole handle broke off, and he got me a new one to replace it so I could have a new one. Isn't that sweet? All right. Okay, okay. So Gary Francis post, he doesn't even resemble Zodiac. It's just such a joke. I guess it's some operation to keep Claire locked away forever and ever till she dies and goes away, and, you know, the devils continue to take my money and, you know, pretend I don't exist and was never born as the first All-American Fortune baby official. Because both my parents were Fortune babies, and one of my grandparents, my grandma Flanagan, otherwise known as Margaret Mitchell, author of Gone with Wind, she was also a Fortune baby from Vega. Okay, secret, top secret. Shh. All right. I have like 15 more minutes here. I mean, I don't know. What is it? Okay, 20 more minutes. I gotta get to this. Okay. So Gary Francis post day, whatever his name is. It's just some CIA operation to divert everyone's attention away from me. I'm sure my stepmother like panicked in January when I told her no, it's still unsolved. She said, I think they already found out who the Zodiac Killer is, Claire. Like I'm some stupid idiot, like dreaming this up, like as my debut to the world or something. Like I would ever want to be the Zodiac Killer's daughter, right? Like I would ever want to make my father into a monster if he wasn't one, right? Yeah, I'm a daughter of a monster. I love being the daughter of a monster because that makes me so innocent, right? Yeah. Like she thinks I'm like a monster myself. So she thinks I'm like projecting that onto others. Her innocent husband, he's such a sweet, pure man who was the father of, I mean, they are wonderful children. I'm sure in a lot of ways he was a great father that he never could be to me because he was removed from my life, you know, early on. And, you know, I think I realized just off the air that I was 23 when they got married, the same exact age. I believe I was 23. Yeah, I was. 89. Yeah. The exact same age that Inez was when she met my father. And she met me when I was 17 at the time. That's when the operation to remove my father from my life began, you know. And Inez was head of that operation. Well, maybe her mother was. you know. But yeah, Inez was determined, and yeah, she succeeded, and she did me a favor because yeah, I needed to be separate from him. And you know, yeah, she knew that he was obsessed with me, and you know, she had married this guy and he was obsessed with his daughter. I mean, I went way away. I moved to LA. You know, I moved to New York first of all. He followed me to New York. Then I moved to LA. He moved to Oregon. I mean, and then his he was on the board of directors in Orange County, and they flew him into New York flew him into LA, not into Orange County because he had a daughter in LA. I mean, I didn't choose this. I didn't organize this. I didn't benefit from this in the least. I just thought, oh, okay, nice for them to do this. I didn't know he was busy at work in the SGI. You know, my father, the Zodiac Killer, he's the son of High Priest Nikan, if you want to know. If everyone, all Nichiren Buddhists. He's the son of High Priest Nikan, former High Priestess Nikan, I should say. Because Nikan, he was my grandpa. He's dead now. Yeah, you know, I was just a 13-year-old American girl in America in the 7th grade when High Priest Nitatsu, who was the 66th High Priest of Nichiren Shoshu, was murdered. And, you know, I didn't, so, you know, I was the successor, okay? I am the very first high priestess of all of Buddhism, okay? And I was this nonchalant, unaware 13-year-old girl in the 7th grade in America, actually in Princeton, New Jersey. So, you know, High Priest Nikan, who is my genetic grandfather, knows this. And, you know, there's no way, you know, in Nichiren Shoshu, I mean, there are no women in Nichiren Shoshu. Oh, no. Women are prostitutes that serve Nichiren Shoshu. Okay, this is the priesthood's view. And this is a lot of the reason why my father, Dennis, treated me the way he did, you know, because that was the view of Nichiren Shoshu, and he was in that lineage. And, you know, this is you know, we got to keep Claire down, you know. Anyway, he sold I was 18 months old when Denny, you know, the Zodiac Killer, my father, sold my virginity to High Priest Nikan, my grandpa, 18 months old. And I've mentioned this before, and I didn't want to go into it right now because I'm trying to hurry up, get this all out for you. But my father, Dennis, stole it from Nikan. He was, you know, and the problem with that is that, you know, my father, you know, I don't know if you can see from the thumbnail, he's you know, he's part Japanese, obviously, but he's not a Japanese man. He's a Caucasian man, and his penis was not, you know, the size of Japanese men. I did okay. I could survive, you know, being raped by a Japanese man with a Japanese size penis, okay? And I you know, I'm sure there are some exceptions to the rule, but I'm telling you, you know, the Japanese people are petite in general, but my father did not inherit those traits of the Japanese lineage he's part of, and his penis was, you know, the size that is average in the Caucasian race, which is a very huge thing to shove into an 18-month-old girl. It was the most painful experience that I've probably ever had. You know, he cut the flap open, you know, the hymen open with his X-Acto blade that he had on his desk for his engineering stuff, you know, when he was a student at Stanford at the time, and he just, like, you know, shoved it. I mean, it was so hard. It was really hard for him to do, and it was really, I was screaming and yelling, and it was horrible. And then when it was time for, you know, the event for Nikan, you know, to get what he paid for, right? I like, okay, hi, you know, my father had made me take my so-called aspirin so I would cooperate. This was always the routine before people arrived at my house. And I'm like, okay, you know, lay down, let him. And it was like, oh, no big deal. And High Nika was like, wait a minute, this is not right. She should be in pain. She should be suffering, because that's what I paid for. I'm like, no problem. Doesn't hurt at all. I know I'm laughing. It is so horrible. It is so horrible that I'm laughing, okay? Please understand. And I know my stepmother, she recorded phone calls when I was starting to remember stuff like this. She thinks she's all sly and that I don't know. She tapes all our phone calls together. And, I guess that's going to be her proof that, no, he didn't do that. It was just a finger. I mean, that's okay, right? For your father to put a finger. Because that's what I remembered. And I'm sure that was part of the procedure to kind of like get me ready, right? I mean, I don't know. I went through a whole thing, a memory process. And I'd remember some and then I'd take it back. And, and during that time, those were my, like, some of my first UL A B, SE, I don't know, put it together, kind of like see what that means. Memories. And I was sharing them with my family, because I was just so excited. It was after I started chanting in 1990, but it was really in 91 when all this stuff surfaced. Suddenly, it was like, like a whole new world, emerged from the earth for me. I mean, it's like my whole life began. I mean, or at least the beginnings of it, because I'm still waiting for my life to begin, but you know what I'm saying. And yeah, Inez, I'm saying her name, I'm sorry. My stepmother, she was part of that. She remembers all that. And this is why she thinks that once they got married and they got married in 91, that was when, right before everything started to surface for me. And I guess that's why she thinks that I don't know if she really thinks that, or she's just trying to claim that I was trying to destroy her marriage with my father. I wasn't, she was the one that humiliated me at the wedding during the pictures. I was just trying to include my cousin who, by the way, and I didn't mention him in my last live stream. I've told you that this genetic, I don't know if you want to call it mutation or genetic characteristic. It's a recessive gene. I don't even think I went into that. And this is information I've been given, and it's top secret, and you're getting top secret information here. It's a recessive gene, and I believe it has to come from both, which means you have to get it from both the mother and the father for it to emerge, to manifest. And it won't be triggered unless you've been through sexual abuse. And my cousin, is now, I mean, I don't know if she still is. She was a transgender woman now who had not had surgery or anything. When she was a man, she got married and had kids, and his, the youngest is probably still a baby. And she got to a point where, it was right for her to be a woman, and she's a minister at a church, and her wife is very supportive, and I commend her. And it's so wild. She looks a lot like me. I mean, I'm like, oh my God. I had no idea that my cousin, who used to be a man, used to be a boy, I saw him growing up, that she looks so much like me. I mean, I was like, wow, she really looks like me. And I don't know, maybe I don't know if he had seen me in recent years. I used to lighten my hair, darken my skin, so, he might not have realized how much, she might not have realized how much she resembled me until she saw me. After I spoke to my Uncle Norm and he told me about it, I reached out and put in a friend request on Facebook, and she canceled the friend request. Didn't block me, thank you very much. But yeah, I guess that was the first time that she might have, I'm sure she's heard all this stuff over the years, but maybe she realized, oh my gosh, I better get myself together so no one can find me. And, I don't think you can find her now. So, and that's all the information I will give you. I'm not going to say anymore, but it runs in the family. It is a genetic trait. And, I told you my brother, by the way, I want to clarify that my brother was on the outer loop in Princeton, New Jersey. He was like in the 7th grade. He was with his friend and they had wigs on. My brother actually had a blonde wig. His friend had like a brunette wig on. They were wearing high heels, lots of makeup, crazy makeup, and, women's clothing. And I was like, I was in high school at the time, and I just casually got on the outer loop to take the bus or whatever, and there was my brother with his friend all dressed up like women, and I was like, and they didn't look very attractive. They looked ridiculous. They looked like clowns, and I was like, what the hell? I mean, and they were riding in the outer loop in Princeton, New Jersey. I mean, I don't know. Didn't they think that maybe some kids at school would get on the bus? I mean, I know my brother didn't imagine I would ever get. He's like, don't tell mom, don't tell mom. And I didn't. I just put it out of mind. This is the way I coped. I just put it out of mind. That's how I keep things secret. That's how I did for years. I just didn't even remember myself until the appropriate moment. Anyway, just wanted to go over that too. Okay, so I've got just a few more minutes, and I'm going to go a little over. I've prepared Elizabeth. She knows that I'm going to go a little over 11, past a little. I told her to forgive me if I go a little past 11. She's comfortable. She's got everything she needs. Okay. So, okay. What else do I want to say? Okay. Let me go over this. The Zodiac symbol. Let me just bring it up on the screen. Wait, maybe they have it here somewhere. I'm sure they do. This is about Zodiac. Where is it? There it is. Okay, this thing. I don't know if this is gonna. I don't. There it is. This Zodiac symbol. I'm sure all of you want to know how. Like, what is it? I mean, yeah, you look at it in a gun, right? Doesn't a gun have something like that, right? I mean, my father was very. I grew up thinking I never had seen a gun, and I was in denial. Buried it away, but my father was, he was trained with ammunition, and he had, it's funny. I think I was roommates with somebody who kept a rifle behind the sofa, and it struck me, and it's because my father used to store his at least one gun behind our sofa, I believe. Yeah, he had all kinds, and he had a silencer, so the neighbors wouldn't hear. And the people who bought our house and still live there in Palo Alto, they found when they moved in there were bullet holes in their ceiling. And I remember when I came back many decades later, he asked me and it was before I remembered anything, and he asked me, what the bullet holes were about, and I didn't remember to be able to tell him. And then I came back again later and explained where they came from. And I don't think I made it clear that my father would, I think in the description I talked about it, below these videos, these live streams. But my father, I'd be sound asleep. I'm a child. Okay, I'm a young child. Sound asleep in my bed. My father would just snatch me out of bed in the middle of the night and plop me on some poor man's. It was always a man. I mean, I guess there was one woman, but there were many men, and he would put me in their lap, and he would tell them, to say their last words to me, and I'd feel so sorry for them, and they would be crying and and praying to me, kind of thing. And then, when my father thought that they had their fill or whatever, or he had his fill, I would be in their lap, and he would shoot them dead, and the blood would splatter all over my nightgown. Sometimes he would take me out of, I would beg him to, like every time I'd be like begging him, like to not kill them, you know, I mean, this is what I went through as a young child. There was one man in particular who was a good man, and I knew he was a good man, and I begged my father, please, he's a good man. He was chanting, and that's what made me think he was a good man. And I'm like, he's a good man, he chants, please don't kill him, please. I begged and begged, and he still killed him. And when he died, his eyes were wide open. And this is, you know, that's a sign of enlightenment. That's how Ron Goldman died, with his eyes wide open. And that's something Ron and I used to always talk about before he died. And his eyes, you know, I know he consciously made sure his eyes were wide open, and he was looking in the direction of the Mezzaluna, you know, because he had no idea what was about to happen to him. I warned him, and I warned him on the phone that night, and he didn't listen. He listened to David instead and told me I was being paranoid, and he ended up dead. And, you know, but his eyes were wide open in death. And, you know, this guy that I'm talking about, his eyes were wide open. And then my mother would be cooking, and, you know, she would sometimes put olives in, you know, in dishes. And my father put his, you know, his eyes were wide open at death. So my father plucked out his eyes. I mean, this is what he would do a lot, by the way. I mean, I saw eyeballs and things like that you don't want your little toddler to ever see. And he threw them in my mother's, like, tomato sauce. You know, she was making like spaghetti or something with tomato sauce. It was like a stew or something, and he plopped them in, and we'd be eating, and my mother's like, oh, what is this? Is this an olive? I never put an olive in here. And my mother, I think my father, like, made me eat his eye. I mean, this is what I went through as a young child. And my mother had no idea. She thought it was an olive, and she didn't know how the olives got into her tomato sauce, stew, whatever it was. And I think I might have even told her, that's that man's eyeballs. And my mother just thought I was being silly, but they really were eyeballs. Yeah, and there was a dog my father once killed, and he would bury them under our house in Palo Alto. He was remodeling, renovating the kitchen, and back then we called it remodeling. And he was doing it all himself, and he had the area underneath the kitchen unearthed, and, you know, to do all the pipe. You know, he was doing all the pipes work, and that's where he buried the bodies, and they're still there to this day. And, you know, the people who live there know it, because I told them, and the police got really upset that I told them. I'm sure they pretended, you know, because they were trying, it was the wife, you know, this is the couple who moved in, that bought my parents' house. The wife was the one who informed me that she had just read about this equipment, you know, back, I'm talking about like 2008. They had this new equipment where they could x-ray the ground, or do a scan of the ground, and detect, you know, what was buried underneath the ground. She had just read about it in the New York Times or something. And I told the police about it, and they had already, I guess they were ordering it up, and they were stalling, and they're like, you told them it was under there, you know, what was under there? And I'm like, well, yeah. And they're like, you don't go back there ever again. I'm like, I won't. I'm sorry. I didn't think there was any harm. I wanted them to know, you know. But anyway, I don't know. They probably pretended, oh, we didn't find anything, you know, but they got their scans, and they confirmed, you know, what I was telling them. And that's how they know. I mean, they have all their evidence together. Believe me, my father, Dennis Elliott, is the Zodiac Killer, or was. Okay, I didn't plan on going into all this, and here it is, 11:04, but we're going to just see what I can get through. I wanted to stress that, oh, and I didn't tell you the origin of this symbol, right? I'm just going into so many directions. I apologize. I know this is all very interesting to people who want to know about Zodiac, including the FBI. Okay, this symbol, you know, I know it resembles, you know, guns. You know, I guess there's a little thing in a gun where you aim, and it looks similar to this. But I'm telling you, the way that this came up, the way that Zodiac, you know, my father picked this symbol, I remember us having breakfast together. I would eat a lot of Cheerios. My mother would serve me a lot of Cheerios, and my father would eat them too. And if you look at the box, I don't know, and I'm sure to this day this is the case. Let me get I see a box of cereal up here on top of our refrigerator. I'm gonna grab it. Sorry for the mess behind me. Okay, I don't want to, like, this is like a really, this is Food Lion Raisin Bran. This is something my husband likes to get. I don't want to, like, take apart the box, but this is what my father did, at the breakfast table. Yeah, here we go. But I don't know. Yeah, there it is. They still have this on boxes like this. Let's see. Okay. See that? Wait, I'm gonna tip it so that it's not crooked. I can't do it. You see that? You see it, right? I don't want to spill the whole thing. Okay, I guess it's not open on this end, so I can go like this. It's not gonna come out. All right. I'm trying to get it so it's straight. Wait, where is it? Is it there? Oh, I'm sorry. You probably saw it. Wait, is it there? Where is it? There it is. Okay. Just trying to get it straight for you. See that? That is the origin of the Zodiac symbol. Okay? Dad and my father took apart the cereal box one morning, and now I can't put this. Oh god, no, it's coming apart. Oh, I have it upside down. That's why. I knew that was gonna happen. That is the origin. That is how he came up with the Zodiac Killer sign. Okay, that's how he came up with it. Would you have ever guessed? Anyway, I've known, I've been talking about this for years, so, and it's so funny. I just happen to have a box of cereal thanks to my husband, Dean. Oh gosh. Anyway, I'll fix it later. I'll have to tape it up. Oh, and now my dog is. I dropped some cereal, and my dog is having fun eating all of it. Okay. All right. So that's down. That's important, right? That's important. Okay. And I want to stress too. I said that he was talking big talk, and and this is why I just didn't believe him. Whatever. When he was talking about the people who he killed, he always assured me that he only killed bad people, and that I shouldn't worry, that everybody he kills deserves to die. And I don't know, Dad. I didn't know if he was right, Denny. I don't know if you're right, but okay, all right. And that's how I justified it in my mind, that these people deserve to die. Nobody deserves to be killed. But as a young child, and hearing that, you think, okay, so there's some reason he's like correcting a wrong. He's, that's how he presented it to me. Like he's correcting them, and they deserve to die. It's only bad people I kill. That's what he assured me. And that's why when he started talking about the kitties in the bus, that's when I realized, oh my God, I'm a kitty. I'm a kiddo. He calls me kiddo. And I asked him, would you ever kill me? I'm not a bad person, I don't deserve to die, and that's when I started to realize, oh my God, he is not killing bad people. He's killing good people, innocent people like me. And that's when, my focus, that's when I started to get really upset about this and started talking to Daddy. And I'm talking about, who's now Clint Eastwood. I'm not talking about Denny, Denny was Denny and Daddy was Daddy. And Daddy was my savior. You know, he was the person who helped me make sense of everything that was happening around me. And you know, that's when Daddy said, well, if this is something that's upsetting you like this, you can help him turn himself in. I'm like, can I do that? You know, like, I didn't know it was possible. And Daddy would tell me, yeah, that's possible. If you want to do that, you can. I'm like, really? And I was like, yes, how do I do it? You know, and this is how, you know, I got him to turn himself, you know, call that TV show, and, you know, approach my mother, approach my Uncle Norm, but nothing ever came of it. Okay. Oh, I also want to emphasize that my grandma Flanagan never wore rouge. I don't know why I was saying that. I mean, that's what in Vega they consider like rouge, like what a clown would wear. So she never wore rouge. I don't know what I was thinking when I said that. She wore powder. That's all I know. She wore a lot of powder, bright lipstick. You know, the Queen too. You know, she never wore rouge either. I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe I was emphasizing, you know, they have this thing about clowns, and, you know, they would never wear rouge, you know, because it makes you look like a clown. My grandmother would wear bright lipstick, powder, and just a little mascara, you know, and that would be it. That was the extent of her makeup. She did not believe in eyeliner. She didn't believe in plucking your eyebrows, things like that. She didn't even pierce her ears. She didn't believe in that. You know, I had to get my ears pierced, you know. I mean, come on. When I was a kid, that was, I mean, I know in her generation that people didn't pierce their ears. It was only like natives or wild, you know, people in Africa who pierced their ears. You know, that was the way they viewed it in the old days. But in Vega, they just believe in all natural. They, you know, it's earth. It's on earth where we pierce and we tattoo, you know. But in Vega, everything they believe in all natural. And I try to, and nowadays I try to be all natural. You know, I mean, you know, I've been trying. I tried wearing makeup not so long ago. I just don't. I'm so used to not wearing makeup now, and I'm more comfortable without makeup. I like being simple. You know, I don't dye my hair. I mean, my hair. It's amazing. I don't really have gray hair. I'm 57. This is my natural color. Yeah. I mean, I'm not opposed to wearing makeup for fun. I wouldn't be opposed to doing a photo shoot with makeup or something, but you know, and appearing on TV, I don't know, maybe I'd let them make me up. I don't know. I'm just not used to makeup anymore, and I'm much more comfortable without it. But if I don't like to look artificial. I wouldn't want any. I used to wear eyeliner below. I would never do that. That's considered. In Vega, they consider that like that's what prostitutes wear, and I used to wear it all the time when I was a teenager. You know, they used to say that it was like my past life as King Tut. You know, he wore makeup like that, and I tended to wear my makeup like that, and everybody used to kid about that I was like remembering being King Tut. I know that's really weird, but it's mentioning it. Okay. It is 14 after, and I do have to conclude, but Martin Luther King Jr., one of my genetic fathers. That's why he was targeted and killed. Just letting everyone know that I don't know if I mentioned that Martin Luther King Jr. was one of my many genetic fathers. And SGI President Daisaku Ikeda Sensei, you know, SGI President of, you know, SGI President, President of the Soko Gakkai International, which I'm the other president of. I talked about how I'm never given credit for any of my work, and all the credit is given to Daisaku, my father, because he was the adult, he was the man, you know, and I was just young little girl, you know, insignificant nothing. Um, but you know, he did write his own stuff. He wrote his own journals. He has his own dialogues. He's profound. And actually, I was him. I know that sounds really weird. When I was 8 years old, I was in his body. There were two Daisaku Ikedas, and one was not a good guy. And I'm sure that's what's so confusing in the SGI, because they think Daisaku Ikeda is not a good guy. He's a very wonderful guy, pure guy who is my father. And that other guy, you know, might have been the guy born as Daisaku Ikeda, but he was not sensei. He was not the guy who's the brilliant scholar that is world renowned. That was 8-year-old me. And I know that sounds really hard to believe, but when you're in an adult male body, people believe anything. Okay, and that was me. And yeah, he wrote his own stuff, had his own dialogues. I'm not taking credit for any of his wonderful work, but I had a lot of, I as Claire, as myself, wrote a lot of stuff and co-wrote a lot of stuff that's given credit, which others take credit for throughout the SGI. You know, most of Daisaku Ikeda, you know, sensei's work is in dialogue form and journal entries. Mine was, you know, the full written works. And, you know, I co-wrote a lot of it too. I had, you know, Ross was my co-writer, and, you know, I don't know, the peace proposals, I don't know. I do believe that we co-wrote those, okay? And everybody gives credit to Daisaku Ikeda, and I'm sure he might have co-wrote them too. I don't know. I'm really not up to date and up to speed, and I can't remember every detail, but that's basically it. I planned everything in the SGI. I came up with all those ideas and everything. That was me, and nobody gives me credit. It's just, you know, somebody else. It's always sensei, you know, Daisaku Ikeda, you know, I'm not saying he takes credit, but everybody gives him credit and others credit, and little Claire Elliott is thrown away. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, just two little things and then one major thing, and we'll be done. And it's 18 after. Okay, so she's being very patient because I prepared her. I said, I'm going to be a little late, but I'm coming right in. Okay, don't worry. She's comfortable. She says she's fine. We always start around now. It's usually not until 11:30 that I start taking care of her. Okay, sometimes a little later. Okay, okay, so, I really covered a lot, and I'm almost done. Um, all right, I just want to be clear. I sent digital letters to the media. I, you know, sent emails, and, you know, back in, like, I don't know, when I first started remembering, I put out free press releases. Back then you could, you know, do press releases for free. I think they have some limited ones today. Back then it was a lot easier to put out press releases online. I put out so many, and sent emails, and was totally ignored by the media, you know, of course. And I was very upset about this at the time. I didn't understand that I was classified. I didn't understand what was going on yet. I didn't remember everything. And, you know, I think once I think in 2007 or thereabouts, I sent out like a stupid cipher to the police, you know. I was just really angry and upset that, you know, nobody was putting this story out. I didn't understand I was classified at the time. And so I did send one thing in the mail, and that was like a really stupid cipher that said, oh, the police cops are so stupid, you know, just all spelled out in a box, you know. It wasn't a cipher, you know, at all. It was just really like a stupid little thing. I was just upset. So that is one thing I sent in the mail that I remember. Oh, and Mrs. Blumster, I think she said life was going to pass me by rather than the world. was going to pass me by. That sounds like the sun, right? The world going around the sun. I think that she said life, and it has, and that's sad. Life has passed me by, and looking to being a participant in life soon. That's all I'll say for that. But last and certainly not least is the big thing, the big doozy. Oh, wait, one little thing. Oh, I guess it's connected to this. All right, let's go to the website. I brought it up again. Okay, by the way, see, the case remains open. FBI rebutes claim Zodiac Killer is solved. This was in 2021 that they did this, in October 7th, 2021, you know, when this group was claiming that it was that guy, Post guy, right? I guess they want the $50,000 private reward. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, but this was in 2021. Now, in May, they went on a media frenzy trying to convince everybody that the FBI has found, and, you know, they're claiming that some whistleblower within the FBI told them this information, and it's just not true, okay? It's my Uncle Norm, who is not the Zodiac Killer, that the DNA, you know, the little hair under the stamp, matches. And, you know, he was not the Zodiac Killer. He was just there. He didn't turn the Zodiac Killer in, and my father was really upset about that, and he wanted, I guess it was Daddy who, you know, made sure he put the, you know, it had to have that, you know, in order for them to properly do the DNA, it has to have the root, right? And it was in the bathroom that he got the hair. You know, my Uncle Norm was visiting, and he left a hair in the bathroom, and my father took it with a tweezer and he put it under the stamp, and I'm sure he was following instructions given by Daddy, and like I said, I was really upset that they were going to mistake my Uncle Norm for the Zodiac Killer instead of my father. And my father was happy if they were going to, he was like, you know, because he didn't turn him in, and he was like punishing his brother for not turning him in, and he should have turned him in. I mean, that is a crime. Both my mother destroyed all the evidence. She threw away that piece of bloody shirt that was kept in a box on my father's desk. Of course, the elevator shoes she disposed of, and I think he had 2 pairs of them. They were really strange looking wedge things. Okay, but this is the big doozy. I'm looking for this. Here it is. 1974, this exorcist letter. Remember I told you, you know, yeah, that does look right, but then I like read it, I'm like, that doesn't seem right. I don't know, I didn't think it was right. But first of all, it's, you know, January 29th, 1974, I was 8, right? I was 8 years old, and I did not have, this was not my handwriting at age 8. I had much better handwriting by this. I had really cute handwriting at this point, and it wasn't anything like this. That's the first thing. And it was around this time. It was in 2nd grade. It was Mrs. Rada. I told you about Mrs. Rada, who is Daddy in disguise, was Daddy in disguise. She was in, like, an older lady who was my 2nd grade teacher, and I loved her. She was my favorite teacher. I used to write, and it wasn't just the eyes that I put a little circle over. It was also my periods. At the end of a sentence, I'd put a little circle instead of a dot like you're supposed to. And it was Mrs. Rada who helped me understand that in other languages a circle is used, but not in English. And it was important for me to understand that when I write a period or I write a dot on an lie, that it's a dot in this language, not a circle like in other languages like Japanese. She was the one that alerted me to the fact that other languages use that, like Japanese, but not English. And so I got out of that habit thanks to Mrs. Rada in 2nd grade. And there was somebody who came into my life at around this time. Wow, I didn't know he had come into my life this early, though, because January 29th, 1974, I did not realize, maybe it was that month. I thought it was 1974. Well, okay, I was re-shakabuku'd by Wayne Green, um, in the spring of 73. My family and I were at the opera in New York City, and he was there, and he saw me and discovered me, thought I was perfect for This Is America. He was the musical director, and he was looking for a little star, and he spotted me and said, "This is her." And my mother's like, "Oh, she sings. Yes, she sings." And he's like, "Really? Oh, perfect." Anyway, and he re-shakabuku'd me and my family. I mean, we already chanted secretly, at least my parents did. And anyway, and that's how I got re-shakabuku'd and back into the organization, even though my parents didn't participate, or didn't really want to participate in the organization, didn't believe in organizations like that. It started in the spring of 73, and it took until like the end of 73 for me to get involved in the rehearsals. And he had taught me to chant and all that, or was, anyway. So in this, so we're talking like late 73, and I always, and I was reconnected, I should say. I thought I was meeting him for the first time, but because I didn't remember him, but I was reconnected with Ross like around January of 1974, when we were starting to rehearse in Queens, New York. He was the bass player in the YMD, and he was good friends with Wayne, and yeah. So, and I knew that, I guess, okay, I'm gonna say his name because he sent this letter. And he told me he was going to send this letter. And obviously, he mimicked my way of writing with the little circles in this letter. I mean, Zodiac doesn't have, I mean, none of my previous letters as the Zodiac ever featured any circles. And now Elizabeth's she's starting to sing, so to get my attention. Yeah, he heard that my father was the Zodiac Killer. We all used to talk about it. I mean, I didn't remember, but I was told, about it. And I guess by Ross, Ross and I started spending time together. He came over to my house, and he was like my tutor, like Daddy was. And then we started co-writing our songs, or works of literature, movies, songs, all that stuff. I founded a lot of businesses, worldwide brands that and love today, with my money, and he helped me do that, under direct supervision of Daddy, who was not allowed to have any direct contact with me any longer. It was a contract that he signed off on, and he had to keep a legal separation from me, and so he operated through Ross at that point. Anyway, it was Stuart Humpert who wrote this letter. He thought it was so great. He was a criminal, pedophile. I apologize, but it's the truth, and I'm telling my life story. I have a right to tell my life story. And he chose to send this letter. He said he was going to send it. He thought it was great. He was the Zodiac. Oh, he was going to send a Zodiac letter. And this is what he did. And it says, postmark, San Francisco, California, sent to. Okay, yeah, and he was from, oh, that's right. Yeah. He was from California, Stuart, and it was January. Yeah, he went back to school. Now, he always wanted to go to UC Berkeley. That's where Ross went, and I forget where he went to school, but he was from Napa, California. So, yeah. And I guess that's why he was so fascinated, so humored. I don't know what the word is, that my father was the Zodiac, because I guess he grew up with the Zodiac tormenting that area, you know, Napa, all that whole area. And it's horrible, but I ended up in a relationship later on in life as an adult, not remembering, not realizing who he was. I was just remembering him, and I ended up in a relationship with him, and he knew I was remembering him, but I didn't know it was him. And I moved in with him and his kids, and, you know, didn't understand. He's the one that put himself out there by sending this letter. Okay, I would never have said his name just now if he hadn't sent this letter. And I finally realized after I, later on, you know, overnight, you know, before I went to sleep, that, oh my God, that's right. Stuart told me he was going to send this letter after being told that my father was the Zodiac Killer. And he thought it was really funny to send this letter. And of course he would emulate, because I the thing that I was taken with this letter is that, you know, it was not the same, it was not anything that we wrote, but the little circles. I mean, I used to write with circles like that at that age. This is not my handwriting when I was that age, but I wrote with little circles, and obviously Stuart added the little circles to point to me, I guess. And thank you, Stuart, for trying to expose the truth. Perhaps Stuart wants everyone to know. He used a fake name at the time because he knew what he was doing to me and my family. It was Joel Coleman, and for so long I was trying to find Joel Coleman, and his real name was Stuart Humpert. Okay, that's the big doozy that I had to reveal in this live stream, and I really think I covered everything else that I wanted to cover. Oh, and, you know, I guess I mentioned that Daisaku Ikeda was me at 8 years old, and by the way, you know, Josei Toda, I am his reincarnation, if you haven't figured it out. I know, how is it possible that Josei Toda could be my father and I could be his reincarnation? How could we coexist? Well, when, you know, you're from Vega, you can time travel, and you know, you can coexist with your future incarnation, and that's what occurred. Toda was me. I was daddy, but he was my daddy. So you know, I was my own daddy. I know, really weird stuff, far out, crazy, insane. I know. Okay. I didn't make it up. Well, I guess if I was Toda, yeah, maybe I did, but not as Claire. I didn't. Claire is just living this fantasy of Toda's. This was Toda's dream. And it's my dream too, to create world peace on Earth ASAP. And if that meant, you know, signing off on his beloved daughter to go through the extreme impossible scenario, that's what he was going to do before he chickened out and couldn't do it anymore. He, you know, totally underestimated how painful it would be to watch his daughter go through what I've gone through, but he's done everything he can to help me behind the scenes. And that's why I'm sitting here talking to you today, telling this top secret tale that I hope Bryan Kohberger will expose and open the can of worms for all to see on Friday, which is tomorrow, the 18th of August, 2023, in Idaho, Moscow, Idaho. Bryan, I know you could do it. Come on. Tear off that mask. Reveal your true identity as David Wayne Craig, or David Craig, the real OJ. Please do it for the sake of humanity, for the sake of world peace ASAP, because I don't know how much longer I can take this. And I don't know. I mean, I guess, you know, I don't know what the purpose of my birth was. You know, if you don't open this can of worms for me, I feel like it's your destiny. Okay. it's your destiny as Devadatta of the Lotus Sutra. Look up the Lotus Sutra, go to sgi.org or sgi-usa.org or buddhability.com and find out more about the Lotus Sutra. Do your research. There's the Lotus Sutra translated by Burton Watson. I believe there are links at the SGI websites, the sgi-usa.org websites that link you to those writings, in digital form, where you can do your research and find out more about the Lotus Sutra. There's a chapter devoted to Devadatta. He is an example of a devil who, he proves that even a devil can become enlightened. The Dragon King's daughter, the Dragon Girl, that's me. I'm the star of the Lotus Sutra. I've proven all the arrogant assembly, of men wrong, that learning and realization is not the end-all be-all. It's Buddhahood that is the end-all be-all, and they don't understand what Buddhahood is, and I demonstrate it before the assembly, and they're astonished and can't believe a little girl, little dragon girl, girls, dragons, children, all were not supposed to be able to become enlightened, but I proved them wrong, and I still do, and because I'm the first in the assembly to achieve or demonstrate enlightenment, and they didn't even know what enlightenment was until I demonstrated it. And of course, I'm married to Bodhisattva, never disparaging my beloved husband Dean, and I know now. And I just recently realized that I'm married to Bodhisattva, never disparaging. I've had to get him to retire because he has been Bodhisattva, never disparaging in his family, sacrificing himself again and again. After a while, a Bodhisattva has to retire to become a Buddha. You can't sacrifice yourself forever to be a Buddha, and be a Buddha. The Buddha has to, like on a plane that's going down, the parent has to put the mask on themselves first before they put the mask on their baby, or they could keel over and die before the mask ever ends up on their baby, and then they both die, right? It's the same thing. There comes a point where you just gotta retire that hat and move on to Buddhahood, and that's what I've been working for years on with my husband, Bodhisattva, never disparaging, which has his own chapter in the Lotus Sutra. There you go. That's all that I wanted to cover today, and now I have to. Okay, yeah, it's almost 11:40, so I gotta go and take care of Elizabeth. Thank you very much for watching. Please, if you have any enjoyment or any fascination with what I shared with you today at all, like any kind of interest, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. Please support me. Donate if you care to. You see below here all the information on how to do that. Thank you. I really do appreciate you watching. And I'm looking at the stuff on the little ticker tape or whatever. It's probably an older version of what I would want up there. I apologize. Support me, please. Donate here. PayPal, right? Cash App, yeah. There you go. And Venmo, yeah. Oh, yeah. You can just use. I don't know. This is an older version. It's not updated. I don't know why. You can use the same at DEPT of empowerment over at Venmo as well. It wasn't working for me, but I've been told that it doesn't work when you put it in for yourself. The same username works there. Okay. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Thank you again.